Har Sion. Yeah. We're going to learn soon that the only people buried in Yerushalayim were Malchei Beis David and Huldah happened to be buried in Yerushalayim, but that's it. Nobody else is buried there. And that comes up back in this next point, Har Sion. You see here, Har Sion, I labeled it Har Sion by its contemporary name, Mount Zion, Har Sion. That is the mountain known as Har Sion before 67, as you can see by the dotted line. That was the mountain where Yidden were able to go to, the closest, actually the most easterly point of Eretz Yisrael. Now, Har Sion, if you lift up and you take a quick glance at the archaeological map, Har Sion would seem to be included in the ancient city of Yerushalayim. By the archaeological map, it would seem, and in fact, this is probably the case, that it was part of Yerushalayim. I'll discuss with you in a minute the machlokes regarding that. First, let me describe to you what you will see today if you go to Har Sion. Now, the line around Har Sion that I penciled in, that line is not actually, you know, mountains don't have rigid lines around them. That line is the road which goes around Har Sion. Most of Har Sion has on it a Christian monastery. Har Sion is believed to be a place from where Yashkel was taken to be killed, and therefore there is a Christian monastery there. That irregular shape penciled in before the Tzaddik, that has a place considered to be a Kedusha to Yidden, and that is known as Kever David. When you're taken by guides there, they don't take you from the west or north, they take you around that road to the east, and there's a parking lot, and right next to that is the place known as Kever David. I assume many of you were taken there. Kever David is actually a tiny room. You go into a cave, it's not a room, it's a cave. And in that cave, those of you who are there, there's enough place for people to go in single file, to walk through. There's a gate. Behind that, there's a kever, which is attributed to be that of David HaMelech. You can see a stone kever built out. I'm not sure today if there's anything on it. When I was there were a number of crowns, Keser David crowns that were put there. Interesting, those Kesarim are all taken from the Nazis after the war. Those are all Kesarim that came from destroyed cities of Europe, and they were put there on the Kever of David as the Keser David, so therefore was put on the Kever David. Now, Kan Haben Shayel, here everybody asks, is this the Kever of David HaMelech? Is it not the Kever of David HaMelech? In the era Kodesh HaMikdash, he struggles with this question. Now, Kan Haben Shayel, here everybody asks, is this the Kever of David HaMelech? Is it not the Kever of David HaMelech? In the era Kodesh HaMikdash, he struggles with this question. He gives a halacha, certainly this is a Kever Yisroel. Based on the archaeological evidence, the form of the Kever, Yidden buried different than Goyim in those days, certainly it is a Kever Yisroel. Now, if we are to believe the next map, now it becomes important. If we are to believe the next map, which has Har Sion as part of Yerushalayim, so then we have a Tosefta in the Goyim, which is very important. The Tosefta says, Ein Mikaymin Bakvara. Chut Bekivrei Malchei Beis David B'Chulda HaNaviyah Shahaya B'Yerushalayim. Now, it's an important lesson. Ein Mikaymin Bakvara. Even if someone's buried earlier, they all Kvarim were removed from Yerushalayim. Chut Bekivrei Malchei Beis David and Chulda HaNaviyah, whatever reason, that she also was likely to be buried there. Therefore, if we assume that these maps are correct, this must in fact be the Kever of either a Melech of Beis David or of Chulda HaNaviyah. Not a bad place to be misfouled, no matter which one of them it is. But Katinsky points out that it's mentioned later, there's a list of Malchei Beis David that were buried. David, Shlomo, and Hiskiel were buried side by side. And this poses a tremendous problem with what these guys are telling you when you walk in, and they say, look, that's Kever David. This is a cave. It's not a room that was built. supposedly there, until it was dug out. There's no evidence that it was altered. And the cave as it stands today does not have 3 kevarim. So that it is therefore not likely that David HaMelech is actually buried at that particular kever. It could be that Asa, Yishafat, one of the other Machei Beis David is buried in that particular kever because they were not buried alongside David. They were buried in Yerushalayim, but not alongside David. His maskana therefore is one of 2 things, either that that's a kever of either Chudah, Neviah, or one of the other Malachim, or that actually is an entranceway, it's not actually a kever, and that it's an entranceway to Kevarim, where maybe David HaMelech was buried. He says he does not know, but it's not likely that that particular rock is actually the Matzeva, a top kever David, unless Shlomo and Chizkiah were buried there, and people who walk in are actually walking above their kever. Again, below in the second map, you have Bir Eov. Bir Eov you will not find in any map. It's totally insignificant. So why is it there? Because there's a shaykhis to our pasuk. Bir Eov was not mentioned anywhere in Tanakh or in Jewish writings. In 67, when the Yidden took over this area, there's a spring there, a rather insignificant spring, which is named Bir Eov. The Arabs call it, I don't know exactly in an Arab accent how to pronounce it, but it's called Bir Eov, and it got this name in Hebrew, Bir Eov. But Tukaczynski suggests that this spring was actually named after Yayav, and that over the years, Yayav and Eov, being that they sound familiar, similar, were mixed out, and that this is the spring that we learned about, that he was Kodesh Tzina. It was a spring which powered these statues, and he suggests that that spring perhaps is this spring, and that spring over the generations has been named as, instead of Bir Yayav, to be named Bir Eov, but it's actually named after Yayav. Let's get to the third map. I wanted to point out this. The question of whether Sion is part of Yerushalayim. There is a Kafta of Oferach. Let me first tell you, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sefer. The Sefer Kafta of Oferach. This is a monumental Sefer, a unique Sefer you didn't have it because it does not go on Shulchan Aruch or Chumash. Kafta of Oferach was written in the early 14th century by Rav Ashtimodi Haparchi, who was a Yid, an Adam Gadol, a descendant of the Rosh, I believe, who lived in France. He was expelled from France. The expulsion of Spain is well known. He was actually a set of expulsions from France. It's not as well known because it was not such a tragedy. France at that time was about many serfdoms, and people just moved from one part of France to another. For whatever reason, the Mechaber of the Kafta Uferach ran from France to Spain, ran from country to country until he came to Eretz Yisrael, and he writes himself that he didn't find Menucha anywhere. He was throughout Europe until he came to Eretz Yisrael. For 7 years, he traveled Eretz Yisrael and chronicled whatever Kabbalah he could find from Yidden in Eretz Yisrael that was still there, whatever Kabbalah he could find, he wrote them down in the early 1300s, and this is really the earliest, besides Josephus of course, the earliest authentic Makar we have for many of the sites in Eretz Yisrael. And he writes in his Sefer, and he's quoted Lahalacha in the Sefer HaCharedim. He writes, Yerushalayim Asa Litzveit Meiser Sheni. Yerushalayim now we play the Meiser Sheni. Ela Yafishenu V'Yavdenu Kitruma. This man I say, you just have to be ma'abedet. Dim Yachal La'ilichai L'Tzion U'Litzveit Sham Shapidam. You have the Russian. In Yerushalayim you can't be private. In Yachal La'ilichai L'Tzveit Sham Shapidam. So he writes implicitly that Sion is not part of Yerushalayim. Come, Dr. Kaczynski and Schrei's Gewalt. Sion is not part of Yerushalayim. Pasuk Zion we learn by Yilkai David as the Sudas Sion, Ir David. Sion is Ir David. And David lived in Ir David. And And yet we find in Pasuk Yudalid, Eresh Shemai Tayilayim Like Yerushalayim. So how could you say Ir David is not part of Yerushalayim? Ir David and Sion is Hainu Hach. And Ir David is Sion, and Ir David is also Yerushalayim. So how could Sion not be part of Yerushalayim? That's the Kaczynski's kindness. So Rabbi side, we can see that perhaps it's not a timer. Because the Tanakh talks about Sion. Real Sion is not Har Sion, Mount Zion. Real Sion, Hainu Ir David, the Pasuk tells us. That's to the east. That's Ir David. The Kapsel of Berach was writing about Sion. It could be that in the 1300s, this Har Sion was already Sion, was already called Sion, the Piha Hamayim. And perhaps he's referring to this Sion, and he holds that it's not part of ancient Yerushalayim, not part of the city proper, and Memela, you're allowed to be paid the Ma'aseh Sheni. This is a subject of debate. If Har Sion is or is not part of Yerushalayim proper, as I pointed out, the archaeologists assumed that it was. However, this whole Shiloh, this is Kever David, now becomes a spect maker. We know David is not in Yerushalayim. The Kapsel Perach that Sion is not in Yerushalayim. So it comes out like this. Like the Kapsel Perach, that Kever is Zichah, not Kever David. Zichah not, it's not Yerushalayim. And even like Dr. Kaczynski's and them gone, that it is part of Yerushalayim, still it's a suffix if that is the Kever of David HaMelech or not the Kever of David HaMelech. We have two statements. Actually here I can tell you, whoever is buried there, that was Zeicha, that develops in their mind that it's the Kever of David, and Yidden should be Mistaro there. The Stam, it's not a nobody. There's no little shepherd buried there. It seems from the Gemara that that's referring to the Harabayim, from the Gemara in the end of Makis, unless the Gemara only paraphrases it. So I'm not sure. In the Nexiv of Pashut Chanan, he writes that Sion is used in Tehillim to refer to the Harabayim. And he says, as a matter of fact, that what did David HaMelech do with the Harabayim? Now, he didn't build the Beit HaMikdash. He says he made a yeshiva there. And that yeshiva was Yeshiva Sion, and it was called Sion. There were people with Sion and Bahalacha, they Sha'arim and Sion and Bahalacha. Sion has a shaykhus to the name Sha'arim and Sion and Bahalacha. And the name he says that there was a yeshiva in Sion, which was this area. Now, it's not clear. I read through the whole lot of the Kapsel Perach. Now, Rabbi Kaczynski names on that the Sion that the Kapsel Perach is referring to is Sion, not what the today's maps say, but it's Pasuk Zion Sion. Here it doesn't. So, here's David on the map. Right. So if the Kaczynski names on that Sion is in here David. So the name Yisrael Geval, how could it be that's not part of Yerushalayim? My suggestion is that the Kapsel Perach might be referring to Sion, the Piha Hamayim, what people call Yerushalayim, Sion, which is what we call today our Sion, and that would answer all the kashas of the Kaczynski on the Kapsel Perach. How Sion then might not be part of Yerushalayim. Nothing on me. This is conjecture. I can't say with certainty. But that would answer the kashas of Dr. Kaczynski on the Kapsel Perach. It's hard to say that he meant here David, that's Sion. That's not part of Yerushalayim. That's very difficult to say. Certainly in the Gittin we write the Yasri al-Mek Shimuach that is part of Yerushalayim. I should point out for your information, you see a little tunnel I put in at the last minute again on the second map. There's a line with the tunnel. I put this in last Sunday. I was sitting at a simcha with somebody, and he told me, there's a tunnel. If you go the Kaisel, if you go alongside the Kaisel inward, there's a tunnel which goes further. That tunnel you have to have tool to get into. It's locked up. You have to know somebody who has rights to go there. Occasionally people tour there. It's a very interesting tunnel, I should point out, and I need to point this out in the fourth map whenever we get to it, that they found a lot under the old city. Many tunnels, many rooms. Anybody who goes to that tunnel without a guide is a sakana of getting lost. There was a nice shahaya earlier this year where a girl in one of the Beit Yaakov was lost for a while in one of these tunnels. Now this particular individual was taken into this tunnel by the Kaisel and he went in a little. He said he didn't want to go weiter. The guy that was taking him, he didn't trust him, that he wasn't taking him in a place that's also to go. So I want to mention here tonight that tunnel is all along the Kaisel Hamaravi. It's all mutter to go. It's outside the Harabayis. I checked this up with Rav Dusky this week before I say it publicly, and he said, "What do you mean? I was there." So I assume it's all safe to go. If you really want, if we would have more time, we can make a Lundische case. And this probably is even true, that the tunnel, even if it goes under the Har HaBayis, it might be mutter to go there. Because the Zion identified by Yokai David as the Sudas Tziyah Yihir David. So it's